Dr. Vikrant Jain to the expert session. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Vikrant Jain is a renowned soft skill trainer, motivational speaker, life coach, and corporate speaker. He has worked at MNCs like Infosys and Vodafone, where he learned various functions related to HR and nitty-gritties to task accomplishment of modern-day corporate world. He also served in field of academics as he worked at premier management colleges like Saint Kabir Institute and Chimanbai Patel Institute as assistant professor. Later, he joined Silver Oak Group of Institute as assistant professor. Currently, he is associated with Karnavati University as assistant professor and placement trainer. He has served mainly in industries like IT, ITES, and manufacturing, where he trained corporate level and entry level executives. His training provided has covered many areas, but to name a few, that is client interfacing skills, problem solving skills, self management, time management, career pathing, etiquette trainings, etc. He has trained final year MBA students for placements and better job prospects. He has been a certified trainer on soft skill by IIT Roorkee and AMA. His year of professional experience has provided him with a broad view, expertise, and proficiency in training students and corporate executives. Here's welcoming, sir. I would like to request you, sir, to share your valuable insights with us. Welcome, sir.
First of all, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And before I start with my lecture, let me tell you that what we are going to talk today. As I have HR specialization students, we are going to talk more about how career progression happens. What are the requirements to have a good career progression? What are the opportunities that you can get in the field of HR? How HR is growing in Ahmedabad, in Gujarat, in India, what is the global scenario? We'll talk about some global trends as far as the HR is concerned. So it would be all in all a brief understanding about what you should do as an individual. And a lot of students have this question that should I go for HR? Why should I go for HR? Is there a good prospect? Will I get a job? What is the package that I'm going to get? So we're going to solve all these queries in today's session. So obviously we are going to have a good Q&A round at the end. But before I start with the Q&A round at the end, I'll ensure that I give enough of information and understanding, though it won't be possible for me to speak the entire detail in just 1 hour or 1 hour 15-minute session. So we'll be covering more of the highlights that what is important for your career progression, how you can proceed with it, and what is the current trend. The moment you understand the current trend, you'll be able to understand the requirements of the career progression. So let's start with the current trends. So I'm here with sharing my desk with you. So let me share my screen with you. And I'll be giving a lot of examples while I'm talking to you. So that makes you quite comfortable and okay with this. So when I talk about HR, please understand that HR is a business enabling function. So what is BEF? When I talk about a business enabling function, the function which supports the operations. It is not a bread earner for the organization. Therefore, this is quite a negative thing for a lot of times for an HR, that the majority that job cuts that happen is usually in the field of HR, because this is the function which usually the operations, or let's say even the top management, feels that it can be managed with few people. And there is, for example, if I talk about the academics also, we have a student teacher ratio. So for example, for every 25 student, there should be one teacher or a lecturer. Similarly, if I give a ratio, which is again applicable to HR, there is a ratio. For example, a lot of organizations follow that for every 70 employees, there should be one HR. Let's say for every 100 employees, there should be one HR. So you look at the proportion. So that's the reason, we see a lot, not so much of intake in HR, because ideally when people opt for operations or finance or marketing, obviously they are going into core operations at the end of the day. But when you look at the HR as a business enabling function, there is a lot of variance in terms of intake, because the industry itself behaves like in the same manner. So more people, less HR to manage them. So HR basic function is to manage the employees, so employees manage better the organization. And that's the reason I'm going to cover today the entry to exit functions of HR, which will help you to understand the career progression in general. So first, let me tell you what is changing in the HR field. So HR, if you look from this, you all have studied the textbooks of HR. So if I talk about the performance management, training and development, recruitment and selection, these are all the theoretical part of it. But when you actually practice the HR in the real life, you will realize, you will understand that HR is not equivalent to what you have seen and observed in textbooks most of the time, and there's a huge variance into it. And possibly I hope that in the coming time the academics or the textbooks now match with the practical utility of the HR in the current times. So if I talk about the today's HR, Today's HR is primarily concerned with three things. Those three things are people, process, and technology. So here are those three things. Just a moment. So today's HR is concerned with these three things, that is people, process, and technology. So people are at the center, and as you know that HR is usually dealing with the internal stakeholders, that is people, that is the employees of the organization. Processes, HR is ideally responsible to decide the processes which makes the functioning of the employees easy. So the job of the HR is not to make the employee's job difficult so that he or she faces a lot of problem. It's the job of the, so I'll give you an example how the processes work. Let's say uh, an employee is traveling to different countries. So the process of reimbursement is supposed to be taken care by HR. Now, if the process is too lengthy, then HR needs to work on it so that it reduces the non-productive task of an employee so that it becomes more productive. So HR takes all the non-productive tasks in its hand a lot of time because the main operations employee should be more productive in the favor of the organization. So you talk about any processes. Let's say there is some compliance issue. So HR will be taking care of compliance issues so that the main bread earner of the organization is not busy with those difficulties, with those problem areas where he or she is not supposed to give time. And to make the people and process easy, now we have technology. So if I talk about the HR possibly 30 years ago, we never had technology in picture. So we had more of people and process. People in general, everyone who is a stakeholder from the organization's perspective, the one who is dealing with the HR, and second is the process itself. So for everything, there is a process in an organization. And if I give an example of top organizations, let's say if I talk about IT, so TCS, Infosys, HCL, Tech Mahindra, these are the top organizations which are HR centric organizations. If I talk about the let's say the manufacturing industry, and if I give you an example of Coca-Cola and beverages, and if I give you other examples who are equally efficient, they are all HR centric organizations. Now, you know, a lot of times this question comes to your mind: if HR is not so important, why do we call these organizations as HR centric organizations? Why? Because the entire process, the entire company is driven by HR. So right from the moment the employee enters into the organization, you know, the first thing which happens is biometric attendance in a lot of organizations still now. So either it would be a remote clock in, or either it would be a biometric attendance. That entire process of biometric attendance is being taken care by whom? Is being taken care by the HR. So the moment the employee enters, so for example, there should be enough space for the employee to walk in, there should be enough space for the employee to sit in the bay, there should be enough space for the employees to access the basic amenities in the organization. Everything that you see in and around the organization is ideally taken care by the HR. So you are just you are a person, as an impressions, as a person, you are there to earn the bread for the organization. If I talk about the operations and the other people, but HR ensures that everything is there on time. So HR functions typically the way our mom functions in our home. Without our mom, or let's say without our mother, the home is incomplete, because the reason we reach office on time, or the reason we have studied so hard, and reason we are so successful in life, nobody gives credit to mom, but ultimately she is the one who has made all things possible. So if you look in the metaphorical way, the way a housewife or a mother plays a role in the success of all the individuals at home, similarly if you look at HR is the driving force behind all the individuals who are getting success in the organization. If an employee is engaged in all the hassles of day-to-day life, the employee won't be able to give the productive time to the organization. So all the hassles, all the problems, all the difficult areas which are supposed to be taken care by employees are taken care by the HR. So organizations which do not have HR, there the productivity suffers a lot. And the organizations which have HR, the productivity will never suffer, because HR is the one who is taking care of all the problems. So HR is an important function. There's a debate going on, a lot of websites, a lot of portals. You'll read a lot of blogs as well, videos also. Is HR going to be irrelevant in the coming time? My answer is based on the analysis that HR is never going to become obsolete or irrelevant. But HR is going to be replaced by the technology. So let's say today we have 25 people working as a staff in an organization where we have 500 employees. So that staff from 25 will be further reduced to 15 or 20 employees because technology has intervened. But HR completely replaceable? Absolutely no chance. Because technology is making your work easier. But that doesn't mean that technology is going to replace the importance of human interaction. And HR is more about human interaction. HR is more about bringing humanitarian values. And this you must have read in the different theories which we have talked in HR, such as the theories of trusteeship, which is largely advocated by Gandhiji as a part of Gandhian philosophy, that we employees are the trustees of the organization, but the philosophy of trusteeship is something which is propagated by the HR people, that employees are the owners of the organization, therefore this property belongs to as much to the organization, it belongs to you as well. So ensure that you practice that ownership in the organization when you feel the ownership. So bringing the feeling of ownership is the job of HR, is the job that is done by HR, and therefore technology. So a lot of times people perceive HR as a non-productive function. A lot of time people perceive HR as a non-relevant function. That is absolutely incorrect, because in case HR is not there, then the entire chaos happens in the organization, which is difficult to manage, which is difficult to take care about. And therefore people, process, and technology going to play a major role. So let's talk about the first stakeholder, who is people. So as a part of career path, let's see people. So we have a blended workforce. So you name any organization nowadays in the world, and you'll always find a blended workforce. What do we understand by this blended workforce? A blended workforce is a workforce which comes from varied backgrounds, which comes from varied regions, and possibly to have a common functioning amongst them is always going to be a challenge. So up to 40%, that is the data which is being given over here as per the HR trends 3 years back, that is up to 40% of workforce is contingent, that is part-time and freelancers. Even if you have read, industrial relations and labor laws, this is one subject that I used to teach at CPIMR. So in the book itself, in Memoria and Memoria also, you will find the statistics that 94% of our labor or workforce is into unorganized sector, and only 6% of workforce is into organized sector. So when I give you an understanding about the unorganized sector or an organized sector, the unorganized sector is the one where there is no documentation, where there is no track. So that 94% of unorganized labor is ideally a result where the organization have not given due importance to the HR. Because the HR is missing, there is no documentation, and that sector itself becomes an unorganized sector, and therefore it accounts for 94% of labor. So if I see as an opportunity for my field, that is HR, we have 94% of the area which is vacant, which is supposed to be taken care by the HR, but still HR has not come over there. So HR is existing in India, HR is existing in Gujarat or Ahmedabad, only in the 6% area where we have the organized sector, where we have HRs taking care of all the things. So if I give you an understanding, let's say an employee is admitted into a hospital, and that employee has a mediclaim which is sponsored by the organization. So the moment employee complains that he's suffering through a certain pain, right from the booking of the ambulance till the cashless discharge of the patient, everything is taken care by the HR at the back end. Nobody realizes that, nobody compliments that, nobody says a thank you word to the HR, but the entire journey is being made by the HR, and therefore it is highly a non-thankful job a lot of times, but it is very imperative for the employee side to understand that what HR is doing for you is to make your job and life easy. And therefore, when we have a lot of blended workforce coming into it, it becomes altogether more challenging, because you have people which is coming from different backgrounds, different culture. So let's assume that you have a blended workforce, and let's say if you divide it into the religions, you have, let's say, out of 100%, let's say if you have 100 employees, you have 30 employees who are Hindus, you have 20 employees who are Jains, you have 20 employees who are Buddhists. So 30, 20, 20, so it's 70. Then you have 20 employees who are Muslims, and 10 employees, or let's say 20 employees, which is the remaining part, are Parsis. Now, every employee needs a holiday because he or she observes their religion, observes the festivals which are belonging to their religion or community. Now, if a blended workforce is there, it is challenging for the HR to maintain the productivity, because everybody would be going on leave at a certain point of time, and the absence of that employee is to be managed by the HR. So working with a blended workforce is always going to be challenged because everybody has a different need or requirement based on their background, based on their distance from their hometown, based on the religion, caste, community, creed that they follow. And there are a lot of other social factors which comes into picture, which actually hampers the productivity. But you cannot blame the employee at the end of the day for the productivity getting hampered. The organization is always going to question the HR that why productivity is low. And therefore, it's the job of the HR to either find a substitute or a part-time workforce, which actually, so in India, majority of the employees are on leave during the Diwali season. And that is the season which is a time to enjoy for majority of the people in India. But it's the HR who is already into a continuous stress that how to manage that duration in the absence of majority of the employees. So there is a huge challenge for the people when I talk about managing the workforce. That is blended workforce. So gig work networks will grow and Upwork and gig work will. So gig means the unorganized part I'm talking about. So we talk about the gig technology, gig workforce. The gig is the one which is unaccounted. So what is unaccounted in India? People those who work as freelancers, people those who work as part-timers. So as an HR, if I find that in the month of November a lot of people go for long holidays, I can find a part-time workforce which will be more utilized during the month of November. I again find that a lot of people go for leaves during the summer vacation, that is in the month of May or June. I can still take a support of, but managing that part-time workforce and expecting a loyalty despite managing them as a part-time workforce is a bigger challenge for the HR. So what is the proportion to be maintained between the part-time freelancers and the full-time workforce is a big challenge. So you find it very easy from the employee's perspective, but you have never realized or seen the headache of the HR while managing these things. And this is the challenge when you talk about the HR. So first is blended workforce. Let me talk about the second one, that is millennials or the Generation Z. So both generations will put pressure on companies to transform rewards, officers, learning experience, and flexible work hours. So, there are different terminologies being used when I talk about the people. So when your parents or my parents have worked with the organizations, that was the earlier generation. But if I talk about the today's generation, which we usually regard or call it them as millennials or Generation Z, you will find that nowadays the organizations are having a combination of both. So you have people who are obsolete at times in the process, who are having that redundant thinking pattern. And at the same time, you have somebody in the organization who is actually coming with the understanding of the latest technology. So I'll just give you one of the conversations that I had. I was once there at one of the government departments, and I have one of my friend who is working on contract. And he actually manages all the softwares. He actually manages all the data in the organization. It's primarily the job of HR that he's doing. And again, there are permanent employees in the organization who are absolutely unproductive, and they believe in doing manual work rather than working. So they have computers which are never being opened or switched on. And therefore, if you talk about the HR from the government organization point of view, the one who is getting minimum paid is giving more productivity, and the one who is getting maximum paid is not giving productivity is going to be your challenge also while managing people. So managing the people coming from different generations. So, when you enter into the organization, you always find that some people are very senior, but they are still working at the same position. Some people who are very young, dynamic, they want to grow up in the ladder in the organization, but they are not allowed to do so because they have older people sitting at the same position. So both generations will put pressure on you as HR that I want my share of reward, and the older generation will say that they want their share of reward, and if they won't get it, they want others allowed to get it. So deciding a very fair and a common reward policy for everyone based on your learning experience is going to be highly challenging. Second thing, as you all know that work from home has come. So for many people, it's like a Diwali, after a long time, people have got this opportunity to spend time with your family. But if I give you a real-time understanding about the HR, it was not a pleasant time for HR because managing productivity with the people from home has been more challenging because tracking data, getting accountability from the people is much more challenging. So both the generations will put pressure on the HR, the earlier generations and the current generation. And work from home has again come out with a new challenge that HR is always on task. 24 by 7. Earlier, HR was supposed to be accountable only during the working hours, but now it's 24 by 7 because employees are also working 24 by 7. So whether you talk about the appraisal process, whether you talk about the employee engagement, whether you talk about implementation of different policies, doing that with the help of work from home or a virtual mode is very, very challenging. And one of the reasons that you cannot expect employees to be equally efficient when they're working from. So for example, a certain job, this is the HR survey, for example, a certain job takes 4 hours time to complete it. The same job consumes more time when you do it as a part of your work from home. So the same job gets completed possibly within 6 hours or 7 hours. So that increased time of 2 hours or 3 hours is to be managed by the HR, because as an HR, you're not going to pay extra for that, though employees consuming more time. So employees are having a dissatisfaction, the people are having dissatisfaction, they are working more, but the productivity is not increasing at the end of the day. So please understand, there are a lot of factors, there are a lot of dynamics which are going on, and you as an HR have to face all these issues, because you cannot say to the management that this is not my job, this is not my headache, let the employees do what they are doing. So continuously pushing the employees, continuously taking work from the employees, tracking their productivity, doing performance management. People those are deviated from the performance, bringing them into the performance improvement plan is a big time challenge, and this is not going to be fulfilled within a shorter span of time. So let me go and talk to you about the third factor which we are going to talk. It is the health and wellness, that is growth of tools and platforms to manage wellness and work-life balance and employee activity. So let's assume that as a part of appraisal policy, an employee should go for minimum 10 trainings in a year. Now these trainings were conducted in-house. Now, because of work from home, the same trainings are going to conducted online. So managing that people attended online, they are listening to me online. Therefore, the HR has to come with different tools. So for example, the HR has come out with a new app, which is for the learning and development part. So employees will go on the app, attend a training session, complete the assessment, get certified. This entire process is to be tracked by the HR. So out of 20 employees, 15 employees have done their certification, but 10 employees are still remaining. How to push those 10 employees in order to complete the certification, that's a headache of HR. Though we have tools and platforms to manage it, but it is again challenging. Similarly, health and wellness. A lot of employees complain about the work-life balance. A lot of employees complain about, not getting enough leaves, though they have their indemnity. So minimizing the grievances, that is a part of redressal policy. You also read it in the part of industrial relations or labor laws. So minimizing grievances is again a big time challenge. So ensuring a good health and wellness, giving them, a lot of organizations now provide a lot of in-house facility. That, for example, you have in-house doctors, you have in-house sports complex, you have in-house gymnasium. You go to top IT companies, you'll always find that. Not only top IT companies, even top banks. All the nationalized banks have their gym, not in the branches, but at the main office. You talk about the head offices, you will feel that this is like a palace. So what is that? That is nothing but the organization wants to ensure that they have good health and wellness being incorporated. So they issue free medicines. So I was actually referring to this Panasonic as an organization. So Panasonic during this COVID-19 pandemic times has given free Wildcraft mask to their employees. They have given few hands-free the headphones to their employees, so that there is no disruption in the communication. They have issued sanitizers to their employees. In fact, they have issued the medicines during this COVID time, which are going to work as immunity boosters. So this is an example of health and wellness. So when you have employee in your organization, it's not only about the productivity, but the employee continues to work with an organization. So you have to take care of the health and wellness also. So you have an in-house dietitian, you have an in-house doctor, you have in-house policies, you have in-house dormitories also. So I hope you must have heard about the dormitories. If an employee is not feeling well, go to dormitory, take rest, take a good sleep, get back and start working. If employees coming from a far off place, you can actually take rest in the dormitory, be fresh in the morning, attend your day's job, again go back to dormitory. So we have dormitories, we have doctors, we have gymnasiums, we have sports complex. Again, when I talk about the virtual learnings, first aid trainings being given virtually nowadays, because the organization wants to ensure that the health and wellness is being incorporated amongst the employees. Nowadays, employees are being tracked on their health and fitness plan. So now organization pushes to have, have a good cardio exercises in the morning, and that has become a part of their day's routine. So pushing people towards a better health and wellness plan is also a job of employees. So I'll quickly summarize what we have done as a part of first thing. Today we are going to refer to people, process, and technology. First, we have seen people. We have a blended workforce. Which kind of people belonging to different nations, different caste, religion, creed. So managing them at the same time is a challenge. Again, when I talk about the blended workforce, we have blended workforce as full-timers, part-timers, and last but not the least, we have a workforce of freelancers. And the amount of freelancers have increased over the period of time. Similarly, we have millennials and Generation Z. So when I talk about the millennials are the one which is the latest generation. They are highly equipped with the latest gadgets and tools, but at the same time, their attention span is very less. So managing and getting reward from them and managing the work is a highly difficult task. So when you start mastering these things, blended workforce, millennials, that's where your career progression goes to the next level. Next is health and wellness. So ensuring and tracking the health and wellness is again very important for the organization. Let me go to the next part. Sorry. So people, next we are going to talk about the technology. So let me go with the technology. So first, when you talk about the technology, in case of people, process, and technology, the next comes is technology, people analytics. So they have talked about the people analytics. Acha, how many of you are aware that we are reading about artificial intelligence, IoT, that is Internet of Things. We are talking about data analytics, data science, data mining. We are talking about the robotics. We are talking about the blockchain technology. How many of you feel that this is not going to impact HR? In fact, nowadays, the management programs have come with a blended learning process. For example, AI and HR, blockchain and HR, for example, robotics and HR, for example, IoT and HR. So how technology can help you in minimizing your manual work and maximizing the productivity is nothing but the role of technology. And that has changed in the last 10 years. So let's talk about the people analytics. The first, what is people analytics? You analyze your people. It's as simple as that. So let's say if I have a workforce of, let's say, 100 people, I can analyze them on various parameters. The first is psychometric parameter. As an HR of the organization, I should understand who are the leaders, who are the initiators, who are the ones who are there to work simply as an employee and they do not come out with any innovative ideas, who are the ones who are mere and observers, who are the ones who are practitioners. Even if I talk about the personalities, I want to identify an employee who are extrovert, who are introvert, who are docile, who are dogmatic, and so on. Even when I talk about these students, among these students also, I find some student having a certain kind of capability. I find another student having a certain kind of different capabilities. Can I rank them into one category? Absolutely not. So here people analytics come into picture. That means tracking my people in the form of analysis, in the form of data is altogether more important. So what is it? The first which is mentioned over here is predictive modeling for retention. My PhD is on attrition. So I can very well tell you that how retention works. Which employee is going to leave the organization at what time? Can you tell me? No. You ask any expert in the world, it is difficult to identify or predict the human nature or behavior. So what is predictive modeling of retention? Predictive modeling of retention is to keep guessing. So that is a part of guesstimation. Guesstimation, I don't know how many of you have heard about it. Guesstimation is a part of interview process. It is ideally asked in the marketing and HR field. So with the help of guesstimation, you try to come towards an approximation that what is going to be the data. So for example, as a part of guesstimation, as a part of predictive modeling, I'm telling you that the yearly attrition in the organization or a turnover in the organization is somewhere around 15%, 15%. So I want to guess that what is going to be this year's attrition. Now, what kind of predictive modeling can I incorporate? I'll give a very simple example to it. As an HR, I liaison with the operations. In operations, I have circulated a form. In that form, there are 3 signals. One is green, one is blue, and one is red. Green signal is for those employees who are not going to resign. They are not planning, they are not thinking to resign. The blue signal is for ones who might resign but will take couple of months or 3-4 months. And the red signal is one where the employee is going to immediately resign within the short span of time. Now this data in form of colors, I'm going to ask from the operations. Now you will say that ये तो HR का काम है. No, we get the data from the operations and then we make a decision making onto it. So I asked the team leader that you have a team of 20 people, for example. You have a one-on-one interaction with these people, try to understand their grievances, try to understand their future plans, and tell me accordingly that how many employees fall in which category. So out of 20 employees, 10 employees fall into the green category. That means they are not going to resign. The next category is blue. And the team leader has told me that 8 employees fall into the blue category. That means they can resign, but in the next 3-4 months, not immediately. And in the red color, only 3-4 employees, 3 employees fall, let's say 5 employees fall, who are going to resign immediately as are highly dissatisfied. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, sir, to interrupt you. I hope you are sharing any Word file also?
No, I'm sharing PDF.
Sir, actually only PPT is visible to the students, so probably they are not able to see the colors you are talking about.
Okay. So I'll quickly come over here. Is that not visible? PDF is not visible?
PPT is visible.
Okay. So let me tell you what I have covered till now. Sorry for that confusion. Till now we have covered. I hope you can see everybody can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
So I'll just recap what I've done in the last half an hour. We were talking about people, process, and technology. Now, if you want to master your career progression, and because as an HR, you will be guiding other people's career progression as well, you need to master 3 things in your life as an HR. First is people, second is process, and third is technology. We'll started with people. So what comes under people? Let me show you. People starts with blended workforce. What is blended workforce? Where you have many people coming, different background, part-timers, full-timers, freelancers, people coming from different regions, people coming from different qualifications. Managing them is a big task. You master that art as an HR. Next is...
Sir, sorry to interrupt you, but I think this part was there in the PPT also. Yes. I think only color zone you were talking about, that was not visible to the student.
Okay. So colors, I'm giving a hypothetical example as of now.
Okay. I thought that you are sharing some of the file and probably it was not visible.
No. This actually happens in the organization. So for example, there is a template and which has been circulated to the team leader or the operations manager. And operations manager is supposed to have a one-on-one meeting or a skip meeting. When a skip meeting happens, the team leader doesn't sit. The manager directly talks to the ground level employees and tries to identify and ask them that what are you thinking about your future in the organization, how you are going to take it. And usually this meeting happens on one-on-one communication, interpersonal communication. And that's where now the operations manager or team leader, either of them can prepare a list and will give it to HR that these are the people which I feel can resign in some time, let's say within 1 year, 6 months or 1 month. So HR accordingly prepares a predictive retention modeling plan and tries to plan their recruitment and selection plan in the upcoming time. So that is one predictive modeling that we were talking about as a part of people analytics. The second, which is mentioned over here, is training recommendations based on employee roles. So what is training recommendations? I have a training recommendation for an entry-level employee also. I have a training recommendation for the CEO also. So, a lot of people have this understanding that training is mandatory only for the bottom level employees. If I am a manager, why should I need to be trained? Is there compulsory training for me? Training is mandatory for everybody in an organization. Now, who is going to go for which kind of training? It depends upon your role. So there are 2 kinds of organizations. One is RBO, that is role-based organizations. One is DBO, which is designation-based organizations. If you personally ask me what kind of organizations major time exist in the world, in the India, in corporate sector, these are role-based organizations. That means you are going to be judged on the role that you're going to play. It can be an IC role, that is individual contributors role. It can be working as a, let's say, taking care of, you can be an acting team leader also. You're not a team leader, but you're an acting team leader. So training recommendation comes from the employee roles that is being played. And this is being done by the analytics, which is, so for example, I have an employee who is, let's say there is a productivity chart, and I have 10 employees. One employee is giving me 94% of the productivity, and one employee who is at the bottom of the chart is giving me 40% of the productivity. Now I need to identify two areas. One is the hard skills, that is the technical domain area, and one is the soft skills. In which areas this employee is actually lagging. And after finding it out with the help of people analytics data, when I talk about data, it is purely in data. I suggest what are the future kind of trainings that I can do or go ahead with it. Similarly, when I talk about people data to predict. So what is the data to predict? You have a massive data. So that's the reason I was talking to you that, nowadays as a part of technology, you must have heard that a lot of computer science students or computer engineering students or IT students, they go for data analysis, data science, and data mining. Even you have short-term courses available online also. As an HR, if you find a course on HR analytics or people analytics, you should go for it. That will come with a lot of mathematics and modeling part, R modeling part. But if you go for these models, it will give you an understanding that how you can utilize the data in predicting something which is going to happen in future. And you're getting closer to the approximation. That makes your job easy in terms of hiring. That makes your job easy in terms of deciding the trainings in the organization, and so on and so forth. So using people data to predict. So continuously generating data and predicting is the part of people analytics. So artificial intelligence is a part of it. So, a lot of people have this doubt. So what is artificial intelligence? Let me give you a small example of it. When I talk about the artificial intelligence, let's say you have a CCTV camera at your place. So what is the job of a CCTV camera? Is to take the images and give it outside. Input output process, as simple as that. But let's say when I incorporate artificial intelligence with a CCTV camera, it means the camera is not only going to capture the images, it is always going to give me a vital data or input. That what is the capacity of the godown? How many more stacks can I accommodate into it? What is the humidity level? How many pests or insects, or let's say mouse or anything which is there in the godown. So when I get the real-time data, that is called as artificial intelligence helping me in getting the right data. Similarly, when I talk about the HR, artificial intelligence can be introduced with this thing also. So for example, as an HR, I want to understand that what is the movement that an employee usually wastes during the day. If I measure that majority of time is consumed for the employees going from to the toilet, washroom and coming back, or let's say majority of time is consumed by the employee in going to canteen and coming back. So that analytics will help me to identify the solution that this is not to be done. Similarly, when I talk about the training and development, let's say with the help of people analytics, I found out that out of 10 trainings, 4 trainings are not of any use. They're simply a part of formality. उनका कोई काम ही नहीं है, but we have been doing it as a part of our policy. Now, with the help of analytics, I found out that 4 trainings do not have any kind of impact on the performance of the employees. जब इन 4 trainings का employees की performance पे कोई असर है ही नहीं या negligible amount of impact है, why should I continue? From where do I get this data? People analytics. Now, it's not necessary that you give a questionnaire to the employee. Employee will say, yes, I found this training to be very effective. And then you go with the analysis. No, I'm talking about people analytics. You're given a training. After training, employees are performing. You track the performance post-training and pre-training. You find that there is no improvement even after the training. So you have come to a conclusion that this training is not effective. Now, this entire statistical analysis is done as a part of people analytics. Similarly, you talk about the performances or the frauds that are happening in the organization. Everything can be caught by it. Similarly, if I talk about the natural language systems coming to analytics, so a lot of people are nowadays studying Java language or C++. You have heard that, and a lot of coding classes are going on. Even the schools are offering coding classes. The colleges are offering coding classes. A lot of universities have come with the courses in artificial intelligence, people analytics, HR analytics. I am offer HR analytics for the executive program. The reason is that we cannot ignore the fact that now technology has no role to play. That means it has a role to play, and people, those who are well equipped with analytics, people, those who give a statistical reference and inference to the data, they are the ones who are going to be absorbed in the organization with the HR degree. So if you're pursuing HR degree, I would advise you that you pursue a course in people analytics or HR analytics to equip you with the modern day requirements. Next, as a part of technology, we are going to have cloud and mobile. So what do you understand by the cloud and mobile? Now this is there because of the work from home nowadays. It was not there, though it was a part of trend which was talked about, but it is actually implemented now, that is during the 2020 pandemic. So mobile devices will become go-to computing devices. So biometric system. In biometric system we have to manually punch in, because there is a physical touch involved. Now organizations say that you can directly clock in or punch in from your own mobile. You don't need to touch, because if multiple people touch the biometric, there is a chance of COVID-19 infection. Similarly, if I talk about the third places for work will join home and office. So you have home, you have office, possibly there will be a third solution also in the coming time. So how to make home more equipped technologically is a part of cloud and mobile. Why do we need cloud space? Please let me explain you. You generate so much amount of data, which is again stored back in server, but something which connects the server and your data is cloud. And every organization buy cloud space. So, you have three agencies which are there into cloud, which is Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. These three agencies, they sell cloud space. So organizations, those are into cloud space. And if as an HR, if you know how to operate this cloud space, the data of your employees, the staggering data which is going to change, you are doing a wonderful job in that case. In fact, your engagement has gone an extra mile ahead, because mobile learning has become a common thing. The operation of mobile apps as well. So every organization which is there, they have different apps. For learning and development, they have a different app. I was talking to one of my friend who is into Zydus, and as I'm also into HR consulting and training and development for different organizations and IT companies. So they were telling me that, now organizations are coming with their own mobile apps. So for example, if I talk about Zydus, which is a pharmaceutical company, they have a learning and development app called as Zylearn, Zylearn, Zylearn. Similarly, Infosys has an app called a Center of Excellence, which they have incorporated in order to ensure that even the learning continues to happen at home. So till now, the trainings which used to happen manually, physically, live, now they are going cloud-based. Now they are going mobile-based. So this is one change that we are seeing. So possibly nowadays, what will happen in the coming time, the live seminars, the live interactions will become minimum. So training and development, which is a part of which has also seen a huge change, that now in the coming time, people will go through a lot of online learning mode. So, your probability of earning through trainings will reduce, but you will have a permanent source of learning, that somebody who accesses your training will be paying certain amount and will access your training. So you will be giving more money, you will be earning more money with the minimum effort, that is through one-time recording. So yes, your training, so your research will be more and your live trainings will be less. And last but not the least, AI, which is artificial intelligence, robots, and virtual reality. What we are experiencing as of now is AI, robots, and virtual reality. So first is natural language processing of hiring and talent management. Acha, let me tell you, if I have 50 companies coming for campus placement for HR, how many of the companies will be offering you the HR generalist profile? Not even 10 companies. That means I have majority of the companies who are coming to campus, they are consulting companies, and they're mostly into the field of recruitment and selection. It means further that companies want to hire you for only one profile, that is recruitment selection. That means if you have studied, let's say, training and development, employee engagement, performance management, this is not going to be a part of your daily life. Why recruitment and selection? Because a lot of companies, they do not go for recruitment selection on their own. They outsource this thing. Even a lot of small time companies, they outsource training and development, they outsource compensation benefits. That is, you must have seen that they are third party contractors, and they do the job of paying the employees on behalf of the organization. And this is usually been done so that they do not have to comply with the labor laws, because if a company is doing this, then they have to comply with the labor laws. So now with the advent of AI, robots, and virtual reality, how this thing has changed, please understand this. Now you have more digital assistants coming to picture. So what are digital assistants? For every process, you need to complete an online procedure. Let's say you have completed the interview of one employee virtually. That employee is going to fill a form, you are going to fill a form virtually, and you don't need to maintain any kind of database. A lot of time when an employee is giving an interview, so for example, let's say I give my interview, for example, good morning everyone, my name is Dr. Vikrant Jain. Now that AI software is active right now. And AI software will fill in the maximum information on the content that I'm speaking out. Similarly, when I talk about my past experience, there is background verification which is being done by the outside agencies, which is third party agency. Again, we can introduce AI, robots, and virtual reality. So on the database, I find that this person has an experience of working with TCS in his as a part of his previous organization. There will be an auto-generated email going to the TCS for a verification of your last CTC, for the verification of your last profile and designation, and so on and so forth. And there will be a reply to that email, or there will be a reply to that form, which is there as a part of link in that email. What is it? So your background verification job for you, which you used to pay a lot of money to the other people, now it is been solved. एक auto generated email आपके इसमें से जाएगा for the new person who is going to be recruited, and the job is done. Now AI has actually decreased a lot of labor, a lot of interaction. So there's a lot of personalization that you can do on the basis of the need identification that is happening. As an HR, you'll be constantly identifying need. अच्छा इसको ये चाहिए तो ये कर सकते हैं, and those needs can be accommodated with the help of AI. So appraisal, पहले अप्रेजल में एक महीना चला जाता था. यू आस्क योर पेरेंट्स पॉसिबली, पापा आपका अप्रेजल में कितना टाइम जाता था? 1 month. सो एंटायर मार्च इज डेडिकेटेड टू अप्रेजल साइकिल. इफेक्ट यू सी इन द मंथ ऑफ अप्रैल, सॉरी मई, क्योंकि अप्रैल का महीने में तो फाइनलाइजेशन हो रहा है. नाउ अप्रेजल हैपेंस विद इन एन आवर, विद इन मिनट्स. यू फिल द फॉर्म, it goes to the your team leader or a manager. Team leader, manager, if he's okay, he approves it. The same goes for the HR for the final approval. It is happening, it goes away back. Unless until there is a discrepancy, it will be looked into by humans. Humans मतलब as an HR, as a manager, as an employee. अगर कोई discrepancy नहीं है तो auto generated performance report है, employee देख रहा है, sign कर रहा है. Auto generated मैनेजर्स रिपोर्ट है, मैनेजर एम्प्लॉय की रिपोर्ट को कंफर्म कर रहा है. एचआर इज आल्सो कंफर्मिंग एंड इट इज गोइंग फॉर द हाइक. सो द थिंग व्हिच यूज्ड टू टेक अ मंथ्स टाइम, नाउ इट विल टेक ओनली फ्यू मिनट्स बिकॉज द रिपोर्ट इज ऑटो जनरेटेड अप्रेजल की. यू जस्ट नीड टू साइन इट बिकॉज यू कंफर्म बाय द अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट इज मेंशन इन द रिपोर्ट, एंड योर हाइक इज डिसाइडेड कि इतना % हाइक मिलेगा बेस्ड ऑन योर परफॉर्मेंस. No human intervention. Nobody is coming and talking to you. Nobody is discussing with you. Unless until there is a grievance, unless until there is a query, unless until there is a dispute to be resolved. So less human interaction, more output. That is the advantage of AI, robots, and virtual reality that we usually talk about. So we have talked about the mass personalization. तो आपका जो learning and development app है, वो क्या है? That's an example of mass personalization. If I talk about the HR workflows, earlier you used to do a lot of explanation, a lot of training कि अगर आपको ये चीज करनी है तो you need to go through certain processes. Now the same processes can be viewed by the employee on certain screen as a kiosk. Understand, follow that, the job is done. You don't need to go and personally meet HR also. A lot of organizations, they do not have HR sitting in every branch in India. So you have HR operating from Mumbai or Delhi or Noida. In majority cases, let me tell you the frank thing. And let's say you have a branch at Ahmedabad and you are working at Ahmedabad division. And for every interaction, you have to contact the HR at Mumbai and so on and so forth. Now this has completely been eradicated because you have AI into picture. HR is equally close to you for an employee who is working in Ahmedabad or for an employee who is working in Mumbai. So the technology has solved a lot of problems for HR. And trust me, if you are more technologically equipped, you are more advanced, you are more proximic towards the career progression in your life. The last process that we are talking about is the processes itself. So let me go towards the first process, that is performance, reinvention of performance management. Now a lot of people have this misunderstanding कि sir performance management और appraisal same होता है. You ask any industry person, you ask any operations guy, what do you understand by performance management? वो यही बोलेगा कि appraisal करते हैं वही ना. No. Performance management is a rigorous and a continuous process which happens around the year. So organization goals, individual goals. Individual goals कैसे होंगे? Depending on the KRA, that is key result areas. Now, let's say I will not wait for a year to come to identify the flaws of the employee. As an HR, I'm continuously keeping a track of an employee with the help of operations. और जहां पे मुझे लगता है कि last 2 weeks से performance employee का अच्छा नहीं था, I'll be quickly calling a one-on-one meeting, asking the employee what is going wrong and try to rectify the situation immediately. That is performance management. If I see that employee is not performing on week-to-week basis or daily basis, I will quickly recommend a performance improvement plan. I will not wait for the appraisal to come after 1 year. That is performance management. Now, performance management is going into reinvention. Submission of, ideally, what used to happen first? The employees report is generated with the managers. Now, manager makes a certain manipulation in the data and then it gives to HR. Now, because of the software, because of the processes, whatever the report is being generated, it is simultaneously shared with the manager and the HR. So now HR is completely aware what is the progress of an individual and no manipulation can be done by the manager. So we have more agile system. So earlier what used to happen? Performance management hota tha, but once in a year. फिर हुआ 6 months, मतलब twice in a year. Then हुआ quarterly, then हुआ monthly. Now the performance management happens almost on daily basis, not even weekly basis, not even fortnightly. How is that possible? Because the processes have been improved. Within the process where you find that there is a lot of time waster element, you have removed that, you have taken the due approvals, and now the system is so transparent that even the CEO can track an individual's performance who is working 10 hierarchy below him and can take a decision onto it. So now decision making is quick with the help of reinvention that has happened in the performance management. So you have more agile periodic and performance reviews nowadays. You have development conversation. What is the development conversation? Every 15 days, there will be a one-on-one meeting with your manager and team leader to understand what is the flaw. And last but not the least, instant and rich feedback. What is instant feedback? तुरंत मिल रहा है. गलत काम हो रहा है उसको rectify करो. That is the job of HR. पहले महीनों लगते थे, अब immediately हो रहा है. So that is the team performance tools that you are talking about. You have multiple tools available in the form of software, in the form of people. You utilize it to the best of your capabilities. Next is team management. So this is more again concerned with the employee engagement also when I talk about a team management. So agile team management and organizational redesign. So earlier teams were treated as isolated. कि ये accounts की team है, accounts की team accounts का देखेगी. This is, let's say, for example, collections की team है तो collections team अपना काम देखेगी. Now teams are interdependent. Please understand. So organizational redesign is such that individual teams are also tracked, and you as a team, means all the departments together as a team, is also tracked, and interconnection between the teams. That means collections and accounts team, accounts and operations team, operations and accounts team. That means all the permutations and combinations of team are being tracked nowadays. That is with the help of collaboration and teamwork tools. So Slack यहाँ पे एक example दिया, you can search Slack on internet later. And last but not least, evolution of learning. The first is rise of MOOCs. How many of you have heard about MOOCs? That is massive open online certification courses. अब MOOCs normally students के लिए कौन से हैं? जैसे आप स्वयं पोर्टल पे चले गए, SWAYAM, स्वयं पोर्टल, which is Government of India's portal, जहाँ पे आपको IITs के management programs दिखेंगे, short term 12 weeks, 8 weeks programs होते हैं. So you can register yourself in those programs. Micro learning video. But for corporates also you have MOOCs. For example, Upgrade. For example, Upgrade Learning, Great Learning. There are a lot of online learning which is coming, which is an example of MOOCs, that is massive open online certification courses. So now you don't have to go for an executive program. Trust me, in the coming time, IIM and ISB, even they are going to have a lesser admission, because the new programs which are coming, they have an equal acknowledgement from the industry. They have equal recognition from the industry, and they are giving you the equal value. So you have self-directed learning, khud kaam karo. You submit it, virtual on-the-job experience, and learning recommendation, learning embedded in process. So let's say after 10 years of work experience, I want to go for an executive program. I don't need to register myself with IIM or ISB Hyderabad. I can go with any of the standard university offering me MOOC. For example, I can go with Stanford University, Harvard University. I can go with Cambridge and Oxford University because they have a wonderful MOOC online certification courses. I can go with Upgrade. I can go with Great Lakes. I can go with any of the open online learning sources, and I can get myself certified. So now you have more avenues of getting yourself certified, and it's not mere certification, it's a good learning also which is coming. So learning happens two ways: within the organization, outside the organization. So here we are talking about, as a part of process, doing it outside the organization. And let me tell you, a lot of organizations, whether it's Infosys, TCS, they have a tie-up with international universities for MOOCs. So if you pursue your online learning course independently, you will be end up paying 2.5 lakhs for that 16 months course or 18 months course or 24-month course. But if you go for massive online open learning courses with the help of your organization, your fees will be either 100% granted, exempted, or 60-70% exempted. So it's a massive boost towards your learning and development because organization is taking care of your fees, of the financials. You simply need to go to the course, give your 100%, and make yourself more eligible as a part of your career progression. So this is what we need to understand as a part of career progression. So this I'll be sharing with you whatever I have discussed today. I'll be sharing with Meet and Anuman today once I am done with this session. Apart from this, let me share with you one more document which talks about. So even in interview when you're talking and let's say an HR asks you that why do you want to get into the field of HR or what do you understand by HR? So you can always say that HR is a business enabling function. It tells me about the people, technology, organizations, diversity, inclusion, and so on. So here we have a different report, which is a consumer oriented report, social oriented HR. So, till last year, a lot of people used to say, sir, HR accounting is a new concept. HR auditing is a new concept. But when I talk about the new concepts which are there, HR analytics is a new concept. Social oriented HR is a new concept. Consumer oriented HR is a new concept. Workplace flexibility post COVID-19 is a new concept. Big data, analytics, digitalization, artificial intelligence, robotics, in liaising with HR is a new concept. So these are the new concepts. If somebody asks you what are the new trends in the HR, these are the new trends in HR. Let me read a couple of lines from the industry HR. So here we have quotes from the industry HR. Let me read a couple of them for you. So let me read these quotes which are mentioned. The first I'm trying to read is the identification of tailored talent and tailored development to excellent readiness. So this is what you need to do. Data-driven recruiting will be a trend, more traction 2016. Now this 2016, they are talking about the European markets and American markets. Now in 2020, post-pandemic, data-driven recruiting is definitely to get into. Aapke, majority consulting companies come for recruitment at any place in Ahmedabad. आपका प्रोफाइल होगा रिक्रूटमेंट एंड सिलेक्शन. तो दे माइट आस्क यू कि अगर मान लो आपको रिक्रूटमेंट करना है तो आप कौन सी तरीके चूज करोगे, विच आर द वेज दैट यू आर गोइंग टू ऑप्ट फॉर रिक्रूटिंग. यू कैन टॉक एंड से दैट आई एम गोइंग टू गो फॉर डेटा ड्रिवन रिक्रूटमेंट. नाउ व्हाट इज डेटा ड्रिवन रिक्रूटमेंट, व्हिच इन्वॉल्व्स अ लॉट ऑफ डेटा एनालिसिस. तो पहले उसके बारे में थोड़ा पढ़ लेना कि दैट हाउ डेटा एनालिसिस हेल्प्स यू इन रिक्रूटिंग द राइट पीपल, बिकॉज मेजॉरिटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सफर दैट दे रिक्रूट and then the people leave. So right recruitment will lead to less attrition. Please understand that. Further, leadership branding, corporations benefits. These are the things that we usually talk about. So I'll quickly stop over here without doing much ado to it. Similarly, just a moment. I'll quickly talk about the few functions of HR. And first function that I would like to talk about is talent planning, recruitment, and selection. So at any point of time in organization, when you talk about the starting of the organization, the first thing that you do is the talent planning. And talent planning is purely data analysis. Based on the requirement that you get from the operations and based on the past trends that you have, you try to understand the planning that you want to do. Based on the talent planning, you go for a recruitment drive. Based on the applications that you receive, you go for a selection process, and then you come up with a certain result as a part of talent planning, recruitment, selection. So few important aspects that will be very, very important for you while talking to you as a part of an interview or a career progression path as well is the talent planning, recruitment, and selection. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is, just a moment. The next thing is the induction policies, training and development, and competency mapping. Now these three things go hand in hand. So your induction is a part of training and career pathing. Now, one career pathing is about the individuals. So, आपका जो मैं ले रहा हूँ, that is a career progression session, which is a career pathing session. And one planning or one aspect is that you planning the employee's career pathing. Now, what is employee's career pathing? When you try to understand that if an employee enters into the organization, so let's say I determine 3 parameters. One is meeting the expectations. One is above expectations and one is below expectations. So if an employee is below expectations, then what kind of career pathing that he or she might have? if the employee is meeting the expectations, then what kind of career pathing an employee might have, and if employee is going above expectations, then what kind of career pathing an employee might have. These three things are going to be different. So you come out with three different alternative plans. As an HR, you go for one-on-one meeting with an employee, that this is what the organization plans out for you. We are looking for a long-term association, possibly for the next 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. You can give the trends, you can give the examples of the previous employees who have grown in the ladder for over a period of time. So career pathing, training, these all go hand in hand. And competency mapping becomes altogether more important, because we read or we have heard about a competency mapping, but we have never practiced it, to be very honest. And even the industry HR, most of them, if you ask them, competency mapping is not very much in practice. It is usually been given to the training and development department. Now, as a recruitment plan also, when you have 100 employees selected, this usually happens in the employees which are more in general nature. In general, for example, if I give an example of BPO companies. Now, BPO companies hire individuals from varied backgrounds. They will hire BSc with statistics also. They will hire with MBA with management, let's say MBA in marketing management, finance. They'll hire with somebody in Bachelor of Arts in economics, and so on. They'll hire multiple people as a part of their business process outsourcing operations. Now, not everybody is fit for a specific process. For example, within the organization, you have different operations. You have collections process, you have auditing process. Again, within the organization, you have a telecom company, जिसका आपने outsourcing part ले रखा है, and you are doing, let's say, a customer service management for that organization. So different departments. Now, if I ask somebody from a statistic background, or let's say somebody who is a very introvert and doesn't like to speak much, placing in a domain as a part of business process outsourcing into a sales team, it would be difficult for him to get adjusted. Possibly a person from statistical background who has done BSc statistics can be very helpful in data researching part. And therefore, as a part of BPO, where we have a data researching is also a part of operations. So you can place him in more data researching part. So competency mapping usually can be done by the psychometric analysis, can be done by the data that you have in terms of eligibility criteria and the background that a person holds. So there are a lot of things that goes into competency mapping. So competency mapping helps you to make your job easy, because a right employee at the right place will give you right results, will make your performance management easy, will make your retention rate problem solved, will reduce the attrition and the turnover over the period of time, will obviously involve less money to be involved in training and development. So for example, let's say I hire somebody MBA in marketing, and I ask him to do a data researching part. Now he doesn't know any kind of data researching. For example, I ask him to go for a training. Despite training, I don't get desired results. So my training money is also lost. However, in case of a statistical person, he's going to give you more inputs, more understanding, and a training would definitely give him a better productivity as compared to the other employees. So this is what sorry, I think I got disconnected in the meantime. Sorry for that quick disruption. So I was talking about the different functions of the HR and what role you can play. So I was at career pathing that I was discussing. I'm just 10 minutes short. I mean, I just have 10 minutes extra. Anu ma'am, can we have more time also?
Yes, sir, it's not an issue.
Okay, ma'am. So I was talking about this talent planning. I'll quickly share my screen, what I'm trying to tell you right now, that what functions you need to be good at in terms of having a good career progression and understanding of the HR overall. So, so I've already discussed HR as BF. Sorry. I've already explained this HR as BF, job analysis, which is you already do as a part of talent planning. Talent planning, post talent planning, you are going to have recruitment, selection. After selection, background verification. Background verification, we have induction policies, training and career pathing. After training and career pathing, we have competency mapping, which I was just talking about. So I have prepared this list categorically, something which is implemented in organizations, and the flow is exactly the one which I've mentioned you right now over here. So it exactly goes in the same fashion. And after competency mapping, once your training is done and when you're on the job, As a part of performance management, you will always find certain employees not performing as per the expectations. So you will always recommend them for performance improvement plan. So please do read that how performance improvement plan happens in the organization, because there are different templates available when it comes to the performance improvement plan. And there is a certain amount of bench strength which organization usually maintains. There is a certain amount of time which is given as a part of performance improvement plan. Post performance improvement plan, the productivity of an employee is being tracked. Then again, the data is taken into consideration. And once everything is okay, you are again placed back to the same operations or a different operations depending upon your performance in the past time. So no organization decides to fire an employee simply on the basis of one poor quarter or one poor, performance. You will be given a repetitive chance because recruitment is a very costly exercise. So after recruiting an individual, it is very difficult for an organization to ask that individual to leave, because organization has already spent a good amount of money behind training and development and other aspects as a part of HR practice. So regular exams or regular evaluations is a part of performance evaluating plan. Training mandatory as a part of appraisal. So I was talking about this while I was talking about people, process, and technology. So appraisal is usually looked upon as the performance management. Though it's a part of performance management, it's a one-time process which happens once in a year. However, when I look at trainings, your appraisal always have an eligibility criteria that these many trainings should be completed, only then you are eligible for the appraisals. Trainings are again decided by the HR and operations and liaison. So whatever function that we are deciding right now, HR never functions in isolation. HR usually gets the data from the corporate, from the operations, and based on that data, the further action is being taken. So your operations manager is always kept in loop with every progress that has been made in case of an individual. Similarly, HR audit. So there are multiple types of HR audit, but I'll give you an example of a normal audit. A general audit, which is almost practiced in every organization. HR conducts a random audit every quarter, or let's say every month, with the operations employees, and they ask certain preliminary questions about the organization's philosophy, vision, mission statement, objectives of the organization, objectives of the department, and other principles on which the organization is working. They will ask you question about the, for example, SLAs, that is your service level agreements. They will ask you questions about the MLAs and master level agreements. And this audit comes as a surprise element. So let's say you're working in your on the desk, and the HR suddenly comes in, barged in, and ask you to spare 15 minutes, and they'll immediately complete the audit. The audit ensures that an employee is aware about the HR policies. The audit ensures that the employee is aware about the performance parameters. The audit ensures that employee is aware about the rights and duties in the organization. So this is one of the common audits that are being done in the organizations. And nowadays, even the HR audit is being done with the help of artificial intelligence and technology. So I'll quickly go. So, this entire slide itself consumes more than 1 hour if I want to explain you in detail, but I'm going a bit fast because I do not end up want to consume much more of your time. Next is employee engagement. Now, what is employee engagement in general? As from the HR perspective, to continuously engage an employee in such an effective manner that employee doesn't think of leaving an organization. That helps the retention, that helps in reducing the attrition, that helps in managing recruitment, that helps in having a proper talent planning. So employee engagement comes at the center. In IT companies where, once upon a time, the 30%, 35% attrition was so common, Infosys is one such organization which somehow managed 15% of attrition. One of the credit that they usually give in their speech is that Mohandas Pai, who was the HR head at that time, he always used to say that we ensure that we make employee engagement very strong. So Infosys being one of the organizations which is not a very good paymaster, to be very honest, they ensure that the employee engagement practices are so strong. So what comes into employee engagement? For example, let's say Fun Fridays. For example, outing for the employees. For example, conducting different events, competitions within the organizations, conducting department-based events for the employees. So employees feel that he or she is continuously engaged, offering free movies within the organization. They used to screen, latest movies within the organization. So people never used to leave the campus. Sports complex, they all are part of employee engagement. So you will find people working after hours, you will find people working on weekends. They are there at the campus because they enjoy it. So if an employee is engaged at such a high level with an organization, the idea of leaving the organization for a better pay usually is countered by the strong employee engagement activities. The next is grievance handling. Now, grievance handling or the understanding of grievance handling is very important. So, in colleges, we have a anti-harassment squad. Similarly, if I talk about the organizations, they have a grievance handling team. Now, within grievance handling, you have different departments. For example, there is a different grievance handling team for sexual harassment cases. There is a different grievance handling team when it comes to the operational cases, and so on. So if I give an example of Infosys, they have here, the name of the team is here, HEAR. Here means to listen. So the full form of here is hearing, employees, and resolving. Now, the terminology, or let's say the abbreviation that they have used, is so much connecting to the grievance that it is very, and second thing, grievance handling team always ensures that whatever matter that you take forward to the team, which is usually consisting of the higher management employees, your entire information will be kept confidential. It will be scrutified, it will be checked, it will be verified from different parameters, from different people, from different domains, and you will be given an updation about the result, that what progress has been made. Again, if you're alleging someone, if you're accusing someone within the organization, you need to provide adequate proofs to the grievance handling team so that the proper steps can be taken. Infosys has an example that they have asked the top executive, I'm talking about the directors, they asked one of the top executives to leave the organization when they found a serious case as a part of grievance handling. So redressing grievance is one of the integral part of the standard organizations, and mastering the grievance handling will help you in career progression in the organizations. Next is database maintenance. That is all about data science. So from the time you have conducted a survey, you have the applications being received. Out of those applications, you have recruited few people. Out of those recruitment also, few people have gone for training, few people have gone for the appraisal process, till the time the employee leaves the organization after the exit interview. And post that also, the entire data is managed in such a way that whenever you want to derive a very important information for yourself, you can do that. That data maintenance or data management is a very important field which is required by the HR. So, I have seen the vacancies in the HR that they want people, those are expert in Excel. Now, being an HR, if you're good in Excel, trust me, you are going to climb the ladder very quick. Next is updating data to the parent authority. So in whatever industry you work, you're going to have a data, which is being taken from the HR. So you need to maintain a data in a specific format, which has been approved by the parent authority. So for example, if I talk about the IT companies have a national level parent authority, which is NASSCOM. If I talk about the local agencies, in Gujarat, we have GESIA, GESIA, which is a parent authority for all the IT companies. Similarly, we have pharma companies. Similarly, we have other companies. They have a local association in the form of parent company, which usually takes data from the HR. So data has a huge relevance in the industry, first of all, and HR has been given that authority to maintain their data and give useful information from time to time to the parent authority. So if you master the art of having a good liaising with the parent authority, you can have a wonderful career progression. Next is constant engagement with the operations. This is also called as HR ops. That means HR operations. So operations usually have a lot of queries. Let's say their documents are not uploaded. For example, Mediclaim has not passed. Let's say their PF has not been deducted. Their ESIC number has not come. There are a lot of queries that comes from the operations. So what HR does, there will be one dedicated HR for one floor of one category of operations, who would ensure that they meet them once in a week or twice in a week. Whatever your concerns are, you can personally discuss out with that HR and get it resolved. That is constant engagement with the operations. Next is labor laws and reviewing policies. So from time to time, you have seen that the maternity laws have changed, or the ESIC laws have changed, the PF laws have changed. So ensuring that the change in the laws is being given a brief understanding to the employees also, has been well communicated to the employees also, is the job of HR. So as an HR, you will be keeping an eye on the latest updates in the labor laws. And if the labor laws are changed, the same update is to be given to the employees also. So I'll give you an example of it. You go to any organization, or forget about organization, you go to any shop, and let's say as a part of Shops and Establishment Act, you go to Decathlon. I hope everybody must have heard about Decathlon, which is a very famous sports shop. You can buy a lot of sports apparels and gadgets from there. On the notice board, the moment you enter into the Decathlon outlet, in the entrance on itself, you will find a notice board. On that notice board, you will find all the labor laws description is being mentioned. They want to educate not only the customers but the employees that we are following all the laws which are being enacted by the Indian government, and we have disclosed it as a part of our notice board policy. So that is an example of labor laws. And so mastering the labor laws and reviewing policy is one such domain. So, we are seeing so many domains right now. Even if you master any one domain, trust me, you are miles apart from your competitors in terms of having a very good grip. So, there are very few people who are master at labor laws. Ideally, labor laws are being practiced by the lawyers, not by the HR practitioners. So if you have, let's say you have done LLB also, and let's say if you plan to do LLB in future, and if you master the labor laws, you can have a wonderful income in the coming time. Next is compensation and benefits, where you decide CTC, which is cost to company. So understanding that how the CTC is being framed, it's not a very random thing. Okay, there are 3 or 4 components which are permanent. And how do you come out with the marketing? A lot of people ask me कि sir industry rate क्या चल रहा है? Let's say I want to join as a management trainee. तो इसमें industry rate क्या चल रहा है? Now industry rate is decided by the HR, by the trends, by the data that is being collected by the different organizations. And there is altogether a different theory also which talks about the market rate analysis. So I was actually teaching this to my students also as market rate analysis. If that PPT is open, let me show it to you. So for example, if I talk about the market rate analysis, there are a lot of things that you do. So you try to gather the data through surveys in order to decide what is the amount of hike to be given, what should be the base salary, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So a different job. So you do a lot of job matching while deciding the compensation. You do a sample framing. Time to time, the compensation changes. So you have to decide that to what extent this is going to be permanent and after what it is going to be a variable. So you do a lot of things. So you get market data to decide what should be an ideal compensation. Let's say I hire a manager in my organization. I pay him 25,000. Similar industry, similar company pays 50,000 salary, almost double. That means I'm wrong at some place. That means I've made a mistake either by gathering a data, either consultants have given me wrong information. So I need to look into several parameters while I'm deciding the market rate analysis as a part of deciding compensation. And compensation and benefits is one such thing which is there in your appointment letter also. Your detailed description of salary is being given. So as an HR, you should be very much clear about your own salary first. That what is the basic you are going to get, what is the HRA, what is the DA, and what are the other components which are going to be decided on these 3 factors. So there are a lot of factors which are variable. There are a lot of factors which are fixed. So you should go for more fixed factors, less of variable factors. You should try to avoid as many allowances, try to go for more fixed pay. This is something which you should always look and educate and learn more about as a part of your career progression. Medical, accidental insurance, ESIC, bonus, PF, gratuity, again a part of labor laws, but it is a part of social security scheme as well. So you have a different department which takes care of social security. So ensure that you are part of it. HR accounting, HR auditing, performance evaluation, exit interviews, final settlement. So I'll quickly stop over here. There's a lot to talk. There's a lot to discuss always, but I'll quickly stop over here. Any doubts, I will try to welcome a lot of queries. Possibly, you might have in your minds कि sir HR की job कौन सी है, HR के profiles कौन से हैं अभी market में, sir journalist profile में क्या काम करवाया जाता है, average pay क्या मिलता है. You can ask me as many questions as possible. So the forum is open for Q&A because I will keep speaking and you will keep listening. So that will be a never-ending story. So please go ahead and ask me questions in case if you have. Anybody? I've tried to give you a real-time understanding about the corporate HR and how it's functioning.
Any student? Yeah, Krishnama, please go ahead.
Sir, as you mentioned in the initial half of the speech that technology is coming and technology will never absolute the HR place in the organization.
Yes.
So, sir, along with that, there is also a threat that technology is expanding and the more place is taking of the employees and the jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So, how an employee can cope up with that?
Okay, so in HR, ideally there are 2 kinds of functions. One is more thoughtful research-based function, and one is more non-productive function. Please understand that. Now, when I talk about the non-productive function, that is more related to data. So Functions which are more related to data will be replaced by the technology. Functions which requires a lot of creativity, functions which requires a lot of research, a lot of inputs, will never be replaced by the technology. So if, let's say, HR auditing can be done remotely with the help of artificial intelligence, there we don't need a person. But let's say I gather the data and out of 20 people, 10 people do not comply with the HR audit parameters. So for those 10 people, what kind of plan I should have or training should be given. That is the job of HR. So that job cannot be replaced by the machine.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So HR is irreplaceable. HR can never become obsolete. If you look at the rising job trends in European countries and in America, HR is actually highly in demand. Whereas if you look at the job trends in Ahmedabad or in Gujarat, you have HR in demand, but that is mostly for the recruitment part. So there are few multinational companies even in Ahmedabad. If I talk about Tata Chemicals, if I talk about Tata Motors also, if I talk about Hitachi, which is there in Sanand, if I talk about Colgate, which is again there in Sanand, which I talk about Nivea, Nivea की company जो है उसका नाम है Behrendorf, it's a German company. So again, you have a plant in Sanand. So they all have centralized HR department. Even if I talk about Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola has a centralized HR department. Even ministry, that is Government of India, has a centralized HR department. Now these HR departments have the job of time to time, not only bringing out the problems, but the solutions to the factors also. So HR practicing HR with these organizations, working as an HR generalist, getting a hands-on experience on all the theoretical understanding that you have gathered during your masters. Let's say आपने recruitment में, once you go into the HR generalist function, what an organization does, let me tell you very honestly, they will ask you to go through all the processes one by one after spending few weeks. So let's say आपने recruitment selection में 4 week काम किया, आपने training and development में 3 week काम किया, आपने employee engagement process में 4 week काम किया. You will be spending few weeks or months with every processes. Your HR manager will be tracking your data, that in which process you are performing better. And on the basis of the data that you have performed better in a certain process, then you will be placed in a certain process. What will happen when you work as an HR generalist function? You are more learning rather than practicing it. Once you learn all the nitty-gritties of all the domains, then you yourself are very clear that which domain you want to practice as a part of your plan, as a part of your career progression. So career progression ऐसा नहीं है कि मैंने अभी से decide कर लिया कि मुझे trainer बनना, मैं trainer बन गया. Even in my case also, when I was in Infosys, as a part of my HR operations program, I worked with different departments. मैंने recruitment selection में 4 week काम किया, training and development में भी 4 week काम किया, फिर I was a part of employee engagement where I was actually, जैसे आप लोग creatives बनाते हो, external agency से coordinate करते हो, वो सब करना था. I worked with different departments. And while I was working with different departments, I was able to identify my forte कि मैं किसमें naturally अच्छा perform कर रहा हूँ. And I believed and I identified कि यार मेरा training and development में performance अच्छा हो रहा है. I placed a request with the manager. Manager asked me to go for certain certification programs. I practiced it and I could find my field in the HR, within the HR, when I got a exposure which is more of journalist exposure. So as a journalist exposure milta hai, then it is very easy for me to decide my career progression. So ensure that you get a journalist exposure so that you have a very good career progression in the coming time. और journalist में से आपको ये पता चल जाएगा कि आपका field कौन सा है, आपका specialization कौन सा है, which is your forte that you can optimize in the coming time. Because it's not necessary that you're good at recruitment. In IT companies, or in more than IT in BPO companies, recruitment is more of a sales job. So you'll be given a target that hire, let's say 300 people in a month. That means hiring 10 people in a day, even if you are working on Sundays. So hiring 10 people in a day is a big task because you won't have that many walk-ins also. So it's a challenging job. Not everybody is comfortable with recruitment. Not everybody is comfortable with training. Not everybody is comfortable with data maintenance in terms of HR domain. So you need to identify your forte while you're practicing. It would be too early for you as a student simply by learning through the academics or books कि सर मेरे को तो लगता है कि मैं इसमें अच्छा हूँ या मैं इसमें अच्छी हूँ ना. That is too early for you to comment unless until you get a hands-on experience of actually executing that task.
Agreed, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Anyone has any other question? Any query? I think you did it so well. Perhaps, sir. So clearly students are not having any query.
There are only two ways. There are only two reasons for not having queries. Either they've understood everything which I wanted to tell them, or they have not understood anything. But before I end my session, let me open something in front of you people. I'm again sharing my screen before I wind up my session. If in case nobody has a query, I was going to the website career progression in HR just to get myself more accommodated with the latest happenings in the industry. And I was going through this questionnaire. So the question is, how do I get an HR job with no experience? So the answer which is given over here, another way to break into human resources without experience is by starting off as a recruiter at a staffing company. और जैसे कि मैंने पहले भी कहा कि in Ahmedabad you will get maximum companies which are going to be from the recruitment and selection background. Extroverts comfortable in the sales and networking aspect of talent acquisition would leverage that experience. So even people those who are extrovert, जिनको घूमना पसंद है, बात करना पसंद है, they can do well in this category. So you can start with a recruitment company in case if you want to have first hands-on experience as an HR. चलो मैं एक और question बताता हूँ आपके लिए. What does HR do all the day? A lot of students have this question कि सर मैं HR बन तो जाऊंगा पर मुझे पूरे दिन करना क्या है? And a lot of people have this misconception कि HR का job है आराम वाला job, which is not the right thing. Human resource is in charge of arranging interviews, coordinating hiring efforts, and onboarding new employees. They're also in charge of making all the paperwork involved of hiring someone is filled with and make sure that everything from the first day to each day and subsequent day is navigated successfully. तो ये अगर मैं last line पढ़ता हूँ that from first day to each subsequent day is navigated successfully, that means it is about performance management. So HR is not only someone who recruits you और फिर उसके बाद उसका काम खत्म. In fact उसके बाद उसका काम शुरू होता है. आपको रिक्रूट करने के बाद आप सही हो ये उसको प्रूव करना है मैनेजर को, ऑपरेशंस मैनेजर को. आपकी प्रोडक्टिविटी है इसके लिए उसको ट्रेनिंग बनानी है, वो ट्रेनिंग आपको रेकमेंड करनी है, उसको अप्रेजल का फॉर्म बनाना है, परफॉर्मेंस के लिए उसको 1-on-1 मीटिंग्स रखनी है. उसके बाद उसको अगर आप मान लो छोड़ के जा रहे हो तो आपकी एग्जिट इंटरव्यूज के बाद फॉर्मेलिटीज, रिलीविंग लेटर, एक्सपीरियंस लेटर, मेंटेनिंग द डेटा विद द कंपनी, कोऑर्डिनेटिंग विद द बैकग्राउंड सर्विस प्रोवाइडर्स, बैकग्राउंड वेरिफिकेशन प्रोवाइडर्स, ये सब काम एचआर का है, व्हिच वी रियली डोंट रियलाइज. जैसे कि मैंने कहा कि घर में हम वी नेवर एक्नॉलेज आवर मॉम्स जॉब इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. Similarly, nobody acknowledges HR jobs a lot of time, but this is very critical to the organization. And most of the top organizations, if I give an example of top Fortune 500 organizations, they all are HR centric organizations, because without being HR centric, it is not possible in today's world to be successful commercially. So HR का job कहीं नहीं जा रहा है, and you will all get a very good HR job in the coming time. Trust me.
Okay. Do we have any questions? I think they are all well placed. Thank you so much, Dr. Vikrant. It was nice being with you after such a long time. And really, it was a good learning for the students. You actually gave a real picture to them. And, many of the students have that mindset, what is going to happen in the technological era for the HR job. So you were able to clarify that. You even focused on the career planning, the outstanding performance, how they actually have to do the categorization. Thank you so much, and I am very sure that we will be associated with you for a long time, and your learnings will go a long way for the students. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Before I just say out my few words, I would like to request each and every student that whatever concepts that you now read as a part of your daily learning and HR trends, there is a website called as People Matters. आपको नाम लिखना है तो आप लिख सकते हो. People Matters करके एक वेबसाइट है जिसमें लेटेस्ट एचआर ट्रेंड्स पब्लिश होते हैं. यू कैन रीड दोज एचआर ट्रेंड्स, यू कैन रीड, और दे कम आउट विद डिफरेंट रिपोर्ट्स. अभी रिसेंटली आई है कि कोविड-19 के टाइम कॉम्पेंसेशन कितना ड्रॉप हुआ है और किन एरियाज में ड्रॉप हुआ है. आई विल बी शेयरिंग दिस रिपोर्ट विद अनु मैम, एंड अनु मैम विल बी फर्दर शेयरिंग विद यू. द रीजन आई एम टेलिंग यू दिस, नोबडी इज गोइंग टू आस्क यू टेक्स्ट बुक क्वेश्चंस. आप अगर ऐसा इंडस्ट्री रिपोर्ट जो आपने लेटेस्ट में पढ़ा है उसके बारे में आप इंफॉर्मेशन देते हो ड्यूरिंग द इंटरव्यू, दिस विल इंक्रीज योर चांसेस ऑफ गेटिंग सिलेक्टेड. To read a lot of online literature. Similarly, there is one more website which is called as HR Site, CITE, जिसको हम साइट फोरम बोलते हैं. उसमें बहुत सारी क्वेरीज आती है एचआर की. फॉर एग्जांपल, वन पर्सन आस्क्ड मी कि सर मेरी प्राइवेट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, उसमें पैटर्निटी का कोई क्लॉज नहीं है, सो इज इट कंपल्सरी फॉर द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन टू हैव अ पैटर्निटी क्लॉज? Not really. Maternity compulsory है, paternity compulsory नहीं है. And therefore, so you get a lot of answers for laws that you read, for practical questions that you have when you go through these websites. So kindly please make yourself more skilled by reading a lot about the HR, because your books do not cover everything. Let me be very honest with you. And with the rising in technology, जैसे कि मैंने बताया HR audit, अगर मैं आपसे पूछ लूं HR audit practically कैसे होता है, आपको नहीं पता होगा, because you have to take an experience या आपने कहीं पे. So watch more videos. There are a lot of videos available made by the industry HR where they give out some templates कि आपको बताएंगे कि सैंपल टेम्पलेट कैसा होता है. फॉर एग्जांपल इफ दे वांट टू गो फॉर टैलेंट प्लानिंग, तो टैलेंट प्लानिंग का टेम्पलेट कैसा होता है, कैसे वो लोग मार्किंग्स करते हैं, उसके बारे में भी वीडियोस हैं. तो प्लीज, जैसे कि मुझे ESIC का फॉर्म भरना है, तो ESIC का फॉर्म कैसे भरा जाता है, उसका सबमिशन प्रोसेस क्या है, उसका भी वीडियो है. सो प्लीज वॉच एज मेनी वीडियोस एज पॉसिबल, बिकॉज इट विल गिव यू ब्रीफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि HR एक्चुअली वर्क कैसे करता है, व्हाट इज योर जॉब रोल. क्योंकि इनिशियली यू वोंट बी वर्किंग एज मैनेजर, प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, यू विल बी वर्किंग एज मैनेजमेंट ट्रेनीज, और ट्रेनीज को सब काम करना पड़ेगा जीरो से लेके ऊपर. You won't be doing any decision making. You will simply executing the decision making. And that's all. And last but not the least, I would like to thank Anu ma'am. By the way, let me tell you, students, I was a former faculty over with the same institute, and Anu ma'am has been my mentor also in the HR. So you have a very good resource person who.
So that is not needed. You had always been one of the favorite of students, and always the attendance has been so high. So you had always been a great facilitator and tutor, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Possibly, I feel that my industry experience working in the HR has really helped me to educate the HR students who has been a part of my journey. So it was wonderful, everybody, to see you, attending the lecture on Saturdays also, and see you then. I hope we'll be meeting for more sessions in the coming time. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for sure, we will be meeting soon again. And sir, I will talk to you later now.
Pakka, ma'am.
No, thank you so much, sir. I am ending the session. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.